Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's a joy to be here with you. My name is Maurizio Benazzo.
My name is Zaya Benazzo.
And we are speaking to you from the unceded ancestral territory of South Palm and coastal Miwok, currently also known as Sebastopol, California, Northern California. Thank you very much for being here. Should I read straight a little few words about Tiokasin and then we get in?
So we are so excited to begin the year with a very special guest we have today, Tiokasin Ghosthorse. And many of you already know Tiokasin, and for those of you who have seen the Eternal Song, he's one of the, I would say,
more memorable
characters. One of the ground of the film. So very delighted to be in conversation with Tiokasin this morning.
So let me, Tiokasin, let me read a brief few words about you, and then I'd like you to introduce yourself in a more proper way. So Tiokasin Ghosthorse, a member of the Cheyenne River Lakota Nation and the founder and host of First Voice Radio, is a former Nobel Prize nominee and a leading voice for indigenous rights and wisdom. And I'll pass it to you. It's such an honor and a joy to have you here.
To introduce yourself the way you is right.
Okay, yes, thank you, Zaya, Mauricio, and the crew there at SAND. It's been a long time since I've been able to come and talk to people in public, virtually here. But I grew up in a way that you didn't talk about yourself, so I have to come out of that again. And I remember when I first got out of college, I went home and I was in this meeting room with elders, and I started talking about myself. I did this and I did that, and I got this, I graduated with this, and this is how much money I'm going to make, and all these things. And the whole room just started laughing, because this was not the way that I was raised, because in that traditional way, which I am not traditional, but to respect that is that you didn't talk about yourself in that way. So just to put that forward here, I like to describe myself as an Ikje Wichasha, which is a common person, common man. And I have basically been in one world, not two worlds, living in one world, and not two worlds split, because I include a lot. And to speak about myself, well, okay, what are the things I did? Of course, I have the education I do of the Western world. I have the radio show. I had it. These are all things that I did, which is in the past. And as you know, we're going to be talking about the present quite a bit during this time. So as far as introductions, I come from the Minikoju Itazip Chola of the Lakota people in Cheyenne River in South Dakota. I am not a medicine man, a guru, spiritual guru, or know-it-all. And I know there's a lot of Lakota out there who know much more than I ever could. They speak the language fluently, and I understand it. I used to speak it when I was very young, and that was taken away from me. But, resurgence in all the languages is happening now, because I think Earth needs that. So in a way, introducing myself through Earth feels more comfortable. So I'll say that much.
Yes. Well, maybe we start right there. What does it mean to do a land acknowledgement, a living land acknowledgement, a relational, an acknowledgement that is just not a wokeness language, but it's real? Does it make sense? And if it does, where do we begin to learn that?
That's a common thing among my travels is when I would travel to Arapaho country or to places up in Montana or in Kansas, and you always see that Native peoples, introduce themselves and ask, where you're from. And that was tied into the land acknowledgement, as you would say. But how much are you related? If you say you're Lakota and then you talk to a Cheyenne, they would know that relationship. So I think it's more of a relational value to us rather than acknowledgement, a land acknowledgement that you live over there and we live over here, and that's cool. But we're not living there anymore because of the scattering of our nations. So it's a pan-Indian or pan-Native American thing to do, that we are land acknowledging before the current trend of land acknowledgement. So if you look at the relational values of how the peoples, not tribes, I don't like to call us tribes, the peoples of various nations are have been, how do you say it, have been melding, have been moving and stretching and moving back and forth like in a living organism, not based on domination, but a giving to the land, and also, of course, yes, a taking, but still not taking everything. And anybody who did that, we would call washichu, which is it takes too much. Or I like to say the takes the cake people, they want their cake to eat it too. This is a mindset that goes all over, and this is one of our disciplines, is not to become that washichu. It's not just that those people are that, but we could also become that. So I want to say that to understand that if too much is taken, that's actually poison. When you use too much of something, it's poison. And especially if you use land the wrong way, when I hear land acknowledgement, I think, okay, I understand the sentiment, but that's also saying those people are in the past. They don't matter anymore. And I'd run into the most educated, intelligent folks, and then it would get back to business. So we were tokenized in that same sense. But I understand how you two are presenting that in a relational value, rather than the lines that are drawn because of land acknowledgement. You're over there, I'm here.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Very important too. And it takes time. That's what we are like. It takes time to build those. It takes so many seasons and rhythms to build relationships with the land and the people. And I want to also carry one other thread you mentioned, like in Lakota language, how the language prevents from the I becoming individual. And when you introduce yourself, you kind of speak of the whole, not as a separate self that is isolated, which often English language invites that notion of me, myself, and I.
Yeah. It is very tricky thing to talk about I, because you feel like an island, you feel individualized, singled out. It's part of the Western culture. That's what it is. If they do have a culture, or Mickey Mouse and McDonald's, it's not culture to me. The culture is underneath all the masks and the charades that are happening on the land by America, where Turtle Island supports whatever that is underneath it all. So the bearing of Turtle Island is impossible. So the fears that people are afraid of now, to be real, is that they are afraid that these original peoples, these indigenous peoples, are coming back now, and that consciousness is there again for all peoples. And this is how you live here with the land. So in relational values, of course, out of dogma comes domination. And dogma is always going to be a conflict. There is always going to be war. And the hero worship, the savior worship mentality is out there, the salvation point mentality, like I like to call it. is that we always look for that one single person, and
Right.
we give him or her that responsibility, and you here do this for us. So that's a privilege that we're having. So it takes a personal responsibility away. So if we want to be a hero or an actor or whatever that singles us out, because we're supposed to do that, and you see actors or people who are in front, on top of the heap, they're lonely. They're all by themselves. They're I, they're me, they're the king. And under what goes on inside is what I think about. What's happening there? Um, and where's the relationship when everything is below you? So that comes with the concept and the word of domination, which I know doesn't exist, never used to exist in Lakota. And the reference to I and me and my or mine and ours, that is been westernized so that we now say that because we have to communicate in that manner where we're individually accomplished as I have an education, I have a bank account, everything is separated and you end up at the top of the heap. Now what? So I think it's more like learning how to walk with community, walk with people, not follow or lead them. So it takes time if you're walking with people, it takes time for decision. And this is why I referred to we, and that we to me is more than just the human factor of anthropocentricity, you see, because that singles out us as a species, which I don't get along with the word species either, because that's a scientific thought also.
Right.
So, this is part of that language that I am trying to avoid a lot. I know that I have to speak it because, you are speaking with Tiokasin, but why am I having to say I when you know I'm there already?
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah. It reminds me, we were just speaking with Leroy Little Bear, and he said in Black food, you don't need another thing to reference to explain what is. And that leads me, I've heard you say in Lakota language, there is no such a thing as thinkify, like think, help me, like objectifying reality or
Thingify.
Thinkify. I love that word. Thinkify reality and the world. And so, what does it mean to speak a language that doesn't objectify reality, doesn't fixate it, and listens or speaks with Earth the way you speak instead of about Earth, about reality? Yeah.
Yeah, it's more that I feel that what you're saying, not that I know exactly what so let's describe it as nouns or a person, place, or a thing. So to object, there's an object. A cup could be an object, and then we think domination. We created that. I created that object, so therefore I control it. So we're thinking out of domination constantly, and when we look at the cup is made of elemental consciousnesses. The fire that made it, the water that holds it together, the earth that is there, the air, the oxygen that puts it together. Those are all consciousness, is it not? Because that's who we are also. We are also made up of the very same. And I know that other Native peoples haven't said this, but now, so I grew up this way, knowing this, but I had to run into a brick wall, basically, of people not acknowledging consciousness, which is another way to describe land. Let's acknowledge land first, acknowledge that, because that tree is going to acknowledge us first before we even know it's there.
Wow.
So, and this consciousness to me is that this cup is neither an object or subjected to my whims, because that's an amount of control. It's cupping. It's allowed us to create from the elements so that it could serve. And that's the basis of life. It's not here to serve us, but we're here also to serve life in that way, to understand the equality of the equity of what that is, and in dealing with nature, which another word we don't have in Lakota, but we do now.
Right.
We have to adjust. We have to standardize our language so that we could speak it in English, and it takes away the very essence, the energy, the wakan of everything, the ability to have the ability to apply consciousness to everything, the ability to apply mystery to everything. So this is cupping. It's doing what it's supposed to do.
Wow. It's so beautiful.
Right. The ability to apply consciousness to everything, mystery. So in Western thought, we're trying to solve the mystery. We're trying to figure it out so we can control it, probably. The same notion of ownership, control. So what does it mean not to solve mystery? Like, what is that language?
It's to me, for my personal use, it's turtle language. It takes it, when it's happening. You're not jumping into the future to expect something to happen. So let me explain it this way here, is accepting mystery is that it's there. And those who are attempting to solve mystery, and by calling it some name, let's say God, or what's in that atom, is they're trying to solve the mystery, and this is a consequence of it, is that we tend to go crazy. And you see all these people who are trying to control mystery, they have become a little bit crazy. They're not in touch with accepting mystery is already there. It's not for us to solve it. We can ask questions, to get along in the present, but when we jump from the past to the future, you're no longer in the present. And this is where the language of my friend would say, as all know, who started me helping to think, is that we are speaking now in English a present phobic language, because we don't want to be here.
Phobic.
We want to be in the future, or we don't want to be in the past. But we seem to harbor, like we used to be this and this, and why can't it be like that anymore? But people are not conscious of being in the present, where things are changing, and that mystery is there. Right. And do we really have control? Do we really have control? And that's coming out of the I, me, individualizing of the dominance. I want to be the king. This is my land, this is your land, and we keep the vernacular going. And then part of that too, Maya, Isaiah, is we distance. We can say Maka'ina and Lakota, and in English we could say the earth or the Mother Earth. But you see, the distancing language is the. You're pointing the thing
out.
The, that, them. So you're singling everything out. You're reducing everything. So we talk in reduction language, and we look for a verification that it's okay to think this way. It's rationalizing, that we have to exist somehow, and why not this way? Because we've been imperialistically, I'd say, forced to think this way, and yet that imperialism is imploding now.
Right.
That's what we understand. See, the movement, the energy that you all know is that we can't create it or destroy it. And if we're going into the future or the past, look what we're doing to it. But if we're here, we understand the current of the energy that's going on, the present. You see, and then we have to take it outside the realm of humanity, because ours is not a good value, if you say it this way, because if we had any value, Earth would not be suffering what we're doing to her.
Right. And you said in Lakota language there is no word for nature, and we've heard that in so many other lands we visited in indigenous language, that there is no such thing as nature.
No,
What are the implication when people live with that understanding that nature is not something out there that we need to save and protect?
I think it's a matter of allowing her to, quote, define you and how out of touch we are with that consciousness that's always there, the consciousness of a tree. Now, there's a difference between conscience, which trees don't have, as to consciousness, which they always have. One is always present. Their consciousness, their conscience is not dreaming up egotistical things. It's not the leaf is not blowing and wondering if I'm pretty enough, am I green enough, am I blowing just right in the wind? And then the wind is like, I need more wind or things. So it's always a needy thing. So we talk in need, and there's less appreciation. So we overuse thank you. We overuse thank you without really understanding what that really means. It's like saying sorry, apologizing for something that you really don't know what you're sorry for. But that's called politeness. So to me, yes, we can talk about all the educative processes and say that's wrong and this is wrong, but the consciousness is that Earth has everything, quote, under control. And we feel lazy if I say that, like, well, what do you mean? We have to do something. We have to save Earth because we made a mistake. It's like, okay, but there's an evolutionary process in that whole, if you think about, I woke up this morning. I'm sorry, I'm jumping here, but I woke up this morning. I started with holding a little globe in my hand. And I thought, wow, that feels so small. But then I felt, well, if it's small, then look how small, big I am. Like, yeah, we have control of it. Then I made it a basketball size. And like, oh, it feels even better because it's bigger. Earth is bigger. Earth, not the world, Earth. Then I went and extended those arms till it felt comfortable. And like, wow, how little I am in that. So the natural law that we speak about all the time in English is actually, if you take nature out, then we have to not fill it with empty language and conversation like we're told to do. We have to sit down and really understand the consciousness. It's not just going out to a tree and sitting in front of it and, I don't know, meditating, because I've tried that before. I go out and something caught me as I tried to do that several times. And the tree was already doing that. It was meditating. I wasn't listening.
Right.
I wasn't listening to the tree. And I allowed nature, that quote, nature to do that. And I think that's what that's why the turtle approach that I have, it's underneath this country called America. Ame, the love of, Rika, feminine form of riches. So it's underneath that. Those who love riches, I want to be rich and, be able to give charity and things like that. That's nice. But think if Earth says, I'm going to just give you enough air and whatever, and everybody would be just surviving. But what we've done is cordon ourselves off to we parsed ourselves within ourselves so that we don't understand the whole, or we're understanding I can control this and I can control that, and I'm going to control this by making a park here, but I'm going to charge you for walking in the park. Well, I'm going to charge you for healthcare. All that was free before America. all of us related,
Right.
you know, and people say, oh, that's romantic, because their experience, their people's experience is not that. So this ancestor thing that I hear a lot about, of course, this is going to be a little raw for people, is the ancestors for me are just not my lineage of my father, my mother, grandfathers back there, according to the linear way of the West, is
Yes.
my ancestors, right? I can't heal them. I can't heal those back there. So here's where the feeling of being from the land that I come from, as I was shown and taught, is the ancestors in that way are present always. The energy of them is here. And the ancestors are just not human. So when I talk about ancestors, I'm feeling my dog, Lad, I had when I was 12 years old. I feel that tree that was planted then. I know that river as it was then and is now. I know all these places that are my ancestors. I think about all of those that helped me get here, because those ancestors are the trees, are the rocks, or is the water, is the fire, is it in all that was there, come along with defining it as a human being. And that's what, and that offers me so much more to ask about, is like so much knowledge from that experience of ancestors and those elders as ancestors in the consciousnesses of the elements I spoke about. They are, we don't even know how old they are.
Mm.
So look, you expanded your potential of being, understanding why we are here now, what we are doing to ourselves as a quote unquote species, is that we don't have to do to ourselves what we are doing to the earth. I hope I said that right. We shouldn't have to do the same things to the earth that we're doing to ourselves. That's the split. Because no amount of environmentalism, again, is not going to work. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
And maybe if you could elaborate on that, like why environmentalism doesn't work. And we see it. I mean, what we were at COP30, and it's nothing to do with Earth, with what we're seeing, what's happening. Just again, you mentioned the saviorism, again, the individual, like why this logic is running out of its course, and we more and more of us are seeing it. We were caught for a long while in that logic of domination, extraction, the colonial grammar of that is embedded in the dominant language.
I think that's a great point there, to understand that that's leaving. This dimension that we are trying to make and hold on to and great again type of mentality, terminology, that's deteriorating. That dimension that we are so privileged and, ingratiated with, is that dimension is leaving, because Earth has to change to adjust. We have to adjust to Earth. This is why I say let's stop learning about Earth and learning from Earth. It's a semantic difference. About and from are two different things. So when I talk about, my gosh, there's so much that opened up. I don't know what to say here.
Thank you.
From Earth. Yeah.
Well, because I'm basing this and feeling on with the earth. Even I'm inside a building. I'm in 4 rooms. Yeah, there's artificial light there. There's all these things that are supposedly necessary for me to present a good logic to you all. But that's on the exterior. What's here is already built. What's inside of us, nature gave to us. The environment that we talk about. Now let's delete the words environment. Let's delete nature. It kind of leaves an empty space. So I'd like to describe it like this, Zaya and Mauricio, is that there is thunder and there's lightning, but there's lightning first. And then there is a pause before you hear the thunder. So we are in between the lightning and the thunder. It's the language of awe. The language of awe is what we forgot. And if we understood the language of awe, and we could say like children without being derogatory, that energy is present in all of us because we were all children once. We still are children. And without speaking of children as if they didn't know enough, they came fresh from that light. Right. And as we mature physically, they're becoming earth. This is part about environmentalism, is that they come with energy and they come into a brand new dimension. And they don't, their body is like what do I do here? We don't know how to eat, we don't know how to drink, we don't know how to handle our muscles or whatever that's left there. And we're trying to walk, we don't know what to do, we just lay there. And we're just all eyes and ears and smell and senses. And so we're given those gifts already. Mm. And so we begin to drink, we begin to eat, and all that sustenance comes from earth. And we're becoming earth this way. And then next thing you know, that helps us to grow, gives us intelligence and to live in this realm, in this dimension. And we learn to run, walk, talk, communicate. But we have gotten away from speaking with earth to speaking only with our own species. And that species has become an I-oriented species, right? Individual species. And we do this all through the times before we get old. We are still becoming earth because we're still doing the same thing we did when we came in. Mm. And as we go out, we're still doing the same thing, but we become more infant-like. We can't walk anymore. We can't talk anymore. We can't see anymore. We can't hear anymore. So we're coming to the end, in that sense, not end, but we're coming to becoming. I hope you're with me. We're becoming earth again. So this cycle is continuing. And the environment controls that, because I've seen environmentalists go out to fields and measure and weigh and take samples and all this and say, this is what's good for the earth. And it is up to a certain point, but they have not lived with the earth. They have gathered information. They don't know the mountain. Yes. Yeah. They can measure it. They can hike up and down it, but they don't know the mountain. Now, indigenous folks, we're losing that. If we don't get ourselves together and start living with land again, I think that's what the consciousness that you may be referring to is coming back, whether we need it or not, is the fact that Earth needs us as a species, as one of her children. Mm-hmm. She needs us. Think about that. Something we've longed for, to be needed and missed. Mm-hmm. We've missed all of our lives because of the I dominant engagements we've had.
Right.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't subscribe to the language of like, well, Earth doesn't need us. She will be fine without us humans. You would not subscribe to that language.
I don't. It's not to say that I'm giving you hope. I'm not going to give you hope. It says that we have to do what's required. And how many of us are up to that task? Are we still going to continue the same way? And and then hope to come out of it and wish to come out of it. But let's do a Wolchekya. Some people say that's prayer. Wolchekya means to acknowledge a relationship. Have we acknowledged a relationship with Earth, with besides just humans? Have we acknowledged relationship? And how do we do that? There is no instructional manual. There's feeling, and that feeling of consciousness is allowing Earth to show you, to educate you. And it's never too late, so to speak, because I think that child within us all keeps us within the moment of innocence. This is why I say present language, speaking in the present, allows you to understand what being innocent means. Because it's not one of guilty. It's not the good and evil, the binary thought process. If we're innocent, then every moment is. I've never been here before. I've never talked to you. You're familiar with this, but at this conversation we've never done before. And so every moment to me is innocent. That means, wow, I could say I did all these good things or I did all these bad things, and it's still the binary. But just think if we understood the awe of being innocent with what we've learned and our experience, and we've asked wisdom. Are we asking wisdom for this awe? And what is wisdom but elders' experiences? And what are elders but what's here before humans? The animals, the plants, the rocks.
Right.
These are all elders, and science will never figure out that environment. Science never will, because it's part of trying to solve the mystery.
Yeah.
And we don't want to be here. We'll go to another planet.
Right.
Because that's how much we love ourselves. We're in love with ourselves. We're going to go to another planet. And we're going to conquer that one too. We can't even get it together here. I can talk about the ills of a society that I see growing up in my lifetime. I can talk about America and what it's done and wallow in that. But that's not me. Because I know if I saw, it took me a while too to understand what I'm even thinking and feeling, the innocence of this moment. It gives me strength inside spiritually. And keeps me away from dogma, actually.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I hope some of you can understand this. Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
wow. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And talking about children and intelligence, and you speak again of relational intelligence. And everywhere we went visiting indigenous communities, the elders teach the young children how to listen. They don't teach them knowledge or give straight explanation. They teach them to listen. And our Western educational system teaches children to be individually intelligent. Oh, you're smart. Oh, you're not so smart. And what is the consequence of this education that forgets the relational aspect of intelligence?
Yeah. As we say, we could parse it out. There are many intelligences, and I choose this one. I'm going to be this, and the rest I'll forget about. So we become very linear in a sense. We become micro-knowledging ourselves, and we forget about the whole. And it's the ball I described to you. It's small now. And when I was growing up, we had to blend both Western and the Lakota. My dad and my mom spoke fluent Lakota. And they came into a time when they were afraid to speak Lakota to us young people because that was not accepted at that time. This is before 1978. We couldn't speak that because of the fear that children were going to be taken away, that if anybody taught the Lakota culture, they, of course, were either taken away or they're whatever food they were getting. That's in this state here. This is in the United States. So, but all the time underneath all that hyperactivity of terror, I call it, that the PTSD that we learned before boarding schools, before all this, the currency of what's going on in the tragedy of the world is like, we understood that in a way. At least I think I did, because I was shown, I wasn't pointed, that's what you do, this is what you do, and that's what they just were comfortably showing me. And the relational value of going with grandpa or with my mother or my uncle. And they said, well, you want to go fishing? And if you felt, you would go. And they wouldn't say, well, this is how you do it, and you do this, and you point. They would just, just do their thing, and you learn to watch, observe. And if you made a mistake, then you learned how to fix that. And if you ask for help, of course, they'll show you on their own. And this is where the present, being present, were you watching? Are you watching to learn from that mistake? And that's part of the history. We haven't learned from that. And yeah, it's still opening up big chunks of knowledge for me. It's like a lot of chunks out there. So yeah, I'll stop right there before I lose myself within that thought.
Yeah. And what came to mind also listening to you is how you said in Lakota there is no word for love.
Yes.
So it's not like the grandpa is saying, I love you to the child, right? I love you. So much separation already in that.
It's more like action. They showed they loved you. They shown, like they would give their life for you. So you expand that beyond the anthropocentric idea, is that tree actually does the same thing. That water, all those beautiful elements consciously give you love. And what relational value that is to me, that fills me up. It fills me up. And it's just not, I know this information and I'm going to memorize this. Here's this book says so, but books lie too, just like AI lies. So who wrote this book? The books that I read growing up was like all written by non-native people that I believed them till I learned about belief. And so this is a story. Each of us have a story, and maybe to some people are that I'm bitter. It's like, no, I know where I am. I know what's going on. I know that we're all involved in the world as humans, but there's much more than that to be involved with. Everybody's in a constant hypervigilant mode. And it's like, is Earth that? You sit, she's continuing what she's always been doing, the original instructions. That's where it's written. Because we can write doesn't mean that's intelligent. Sometimes the history is kept in how you treated the land and can be conveyed in an oral tradition. And in oral tradition, you made things come alive. And you could not lie in oral tradition, the real way of that. Today, everything is like we're lying for the truth. We can't believe anything anymore because everything seems to be fake. So it's very, very difficult for us to even, understand what's going on, because it seems to be that the trickster is at hand now. But for me, to focus, Earth focuses me all the time. Earth focuses me, not what's coming on the screen, or, even on the radio or the latest book. I can do that. That's fun and entertainment for me. But, how many of us have experienced that in our lives? And I know a lot of Native people, young ones, have not experienced that trauma that I described to you with my mother and my father not being able to teach us the language and being afraid that we were being taken away. So yeah, there's probably something in there that you could probably go with, but I think I went past the question. Yeah.
And again, speaking of earth consciousness and indigenous languages that are relational, like our modern world is living in anxiety. Like we have, like according to statistics, humans have never been as anxious as now, especially young people. That energy of anxiety. How would you interpret that phenomena and that state of being, of unwell being, from the lens of, from the relationality of with Earth? Like what is, yeah, why young people today feel so anxious?
I think coming out of the womb, they're introduced to dogma first. This is how you're going to do things.
Right.
And if you don't do them, then this is your consequence. So we're introduced to, that we're wrong all the time. And so we grow up feeling that way. So here's something that will placate you. Here's a virtual reality machine that makes things real, seems to make things real. But who taught them that? To not them be themselves, leave it up to a salvation point mentality. But we don't realize that Earth is already saving us. So if we are really going to look for someone, something, somewhere, someday, it's always present. And this goes with the thinking again. Are we in the present when we think about that? Are we thinking about Earth or I or me or my or mine first rather than Earth first? Yeah. Is she's giving us these thoughts. If we have clean food and clean water and clean, then we will have clean thoughts. But there's like an alien thing happening that says, no, don't do this. And then we'll present it to the Western logic again, that there has to be cause and effect.
Right.
Or superior, inferior, or beginning and ending. So this is the box, the parabox that we're caught up in. That came on the ships, as I said I could have said in the
in the film,
Eternal Song. Eternal Song. So it came in the ships, and you could say that there was some amount of that here too. So it's not about a blame thing I'm doing here. It's like it was more prevalent because of loss of being in touch with land there. So now, because of the learning process, when I went to Europe, I've seen pockets of indigenous thought, learning how to let the land take care of you so you can, reciprocate. And if we just left the land alone, like I've said this many times, in 2020, when the so-called pandemic happened, that's when people had to go inside and came out to a full-grown lawn of grass, trees and birds and everything was out there. It was like incredible. It was not because we weren't in nature anymore, but because we weren't in nature, she was allowed to do her thing, to be herself. And if we just allow that to happen to us, to be ourselves rather than some dictation of this is power, this is God, this is everything that came with the ships. the instant gratification is part of the washichu. Like, I want to know, I gotta have. Tell me how. And so we make up things to create who we are, or at least we think we are. So along comes AI and all of that, but what's missing from all of that is intuition. There's no artificial intuition. And as you know, I've got out of computers in 1992 because that happened to me. I could not handle the cube. I could not handle sitting there, thinking that I have an answer. But the answer there was no answer. So I start asking wisdom, not just an old guy sitting up on a hill with a beard. Is though I start regaining that thought process of I need to ask wisdom. I don't have to ask some guy that's out there as a sky god or make Earth a goddess. It's no. In that world of energy, neither created or destroyed, there's no difference. And I was talking this morning, I think it was yesterday or this morning, about being you're a baby. You don't know if you're male or female. You're just energy, just beautiful energy. Now, why would that people want to destroy that? So in this way, indigenous folks all over the world are needed more so ever than ever before. But still, it cannot be the way that we have. It cannot be appropriated, the knowledge, all this, because it's just a piecemeal to make this privilege to have that better. So, I'm probably losing it here, but I think part of it is understanding that, the world is not in my head. America is not the world. And we'll get to that point. We understand all this deteriorating dimension is based on technology. There is no prophecy. There's only teachings. Because we've been through this before. And if these teachings, we learn to listen to these teachings without instructions, because these teachings are about showing you that you've been through this before. And people understand that difference, then we can get someplace. Evolutionary, yeah.
So would you say AI keeps perpetuating, is the ultimate expression of that culture that tries to mimic the original instructions, but while remaining further disconnected from the web of life?
Yeah.
Well, I can't give you a definitive answer because there's none.
Right.
With that, it's going to take us, it's understanding input, output, and binary thought processes of right or wrong, good and evil, superior, inferior, ending, beginning.
Yes. Thank you.
These
Wow.
are all contained within a thought process, a box. And AI was artificial, of course, right? It's not the real deal. And Earth doesn't have artificial intelligence. It's real. It has intuition. It always has. We can't get rid of intuition, no matter what we do to try to intellectualize it. So I think it's a trend to me. I think right now our AI is destroying culture and moving us too much into a technology, and young folks will disagree with that because their experience is not with Earth, it's with getting off the planet. It's in the future, because that's the young people. What's there left for me? I have to get that brand new whatever it is, so it's that the programming that we're caught up in. I think it's we could say decolonizing. We could go with those words that seem to be all tired now, and we we don't need a new language, because there is, like Uncle would say, there is no old, there is no new, there is only a way of living. You see, and I think that would be more of an essence to understand there is a way of living that you can never own.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like free health. It should be free health. It should be free. Wait, is the earth charging us for air, for water? Whose idea is it? I don't get that. What, my dad, this is what I think here. My dad, when I was very young, he had an old pickup truck, and he would sit on a high hill down below there. The government was building fences. And I would sit up there with him in that truck, and he would just sit there. And the sun was going down, and the government would pack up and leave. He made sure they were out of sight. Then he'd pull the brake on his pickup, and just roll down into the fences and crash the fences. And he says, "You cannot put fences on Earth." And I think that kind of spirit is in me too.
Yes.
There's stop doing that to ourselves. Stop doing that to the earth, the fences, the walls, the borders. And people would say, that's not real, but it is. It was real before we accepted this. We acquiesced to, this is the only way we can live. This is reality. Yeah. And we don't know the understanding of what the word real means, or realty, or real, right? We can understand it because that dictionary has been readjusted for the times that we are in, and they are all about control. This language that I'm speaking is about control. And I could go on and on and on, but I know that I speak now. Every Thursday I'm able to get out, because there was to get out to go have breakfast at this place, and the people there, I could feel, okay, they're willing to listen, they're willing to learn, and we have conversations. And sometimes I feel that we jump back too quickly into the box. And I get that. I hear that. But then there's that something happening there that's more expansive than the box. I think that's where we are at this moment, all of us. Oh no, Earth is already there. Yeah.
Yeah. A question is coming, and we're already into 1 hour, and we have a lot of questions as well. But how do I ask you without how? This is the mind. Like, how do I practice the earth consciousness or anything, or how to track when I'm in the box, or like anything? I know it's not a practice. It's nothing to be fixed. It's nothing to be achieved. And yet there is a longing to be remembered. Maybe the word remembering those original ways or instructions. What would you say as we move in our daily life? How do we stay in this conversation with Earth?
Yes.
Wow. Is there an answer in this language? Is because it seems like if there's an answer to the problem, that must be a solution. It just keeps looping back on itself.
Right. Exactly.
And the ceremony that's being performed with Earth, by Earth, is that we don't have to make up ceremonies. We do, and it's a good attempt. It's nice to do that. But ceremony energy is anywhere. Yes, there are appointed times to do something, like there's solstice and whatnot. But that's not on every day, this is the date we do it, because that Gregorian calendar says so. And we've been programmed to say that that's the only way to do it. It's like AD, BC. Whose timeline is that? That's your not native people's timeline. It's not AD, BC. It's nothing like that. So what does Earth cycles say? Earth cycles are, you can call them circadian, but there's more of a natural rhythm there. Is there a need for 3 meals a day? Because they said so. You know, it's all these little things that I know some of you will like question you, and you're told to be, this is a new year now. It's like, it's the same to me. It's the same. I mean, you will make resolutions, and then by day 6 of the new year, that you lose the resolution. You know, you're not doing what you promised yourself. So it's like, no, you have to stop promising and just focus on one thing. And I would say, let Earth help you focus. Allow her in. You'll find that spot or place out there. You understand the energy of it. Let your body do that. Come from the heart. I don't need to go from the head to the heart. I don't have control. If I come from the heart, there is no need to control. If I see things that are touching your heart, you'll change. But if I'm here to recruit or, you know, tell you this is the way it is, that's losing it. I can't instruct you to be you.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
And the thing is that, what's this thing about making native people that we don't understand the modernity? We understand it very much. We understand that those scientists, those people who launch rockets, they're also in a distorted way hunter-gatherers.
Yeah.
You know, they're searching for something to consume. That's a hunter-gatherer. That's a modernity thing. Is we consume. We are hunters. We go hunt in the grocery store, the markets. So we go hunt and then we gather.
Mm.
So that's another way. But allowing, and we're only taking from Earth. We've lost the process of knowing what it truly is to have a ceremony before you hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking with that being, even the plant, all life. How do we do that? What happens? So I think part of that is allowing Earth to do that. And it seems lazy in a sense, because we're so used to the Western process of this is how you do things. And anybody who doesn't think this way, well, that's part of imperialism. That's what's going on here. That's dogma. That's domination. There's no, you can't relate when there's domination and dogma and imperialism. There's no relational value. There's no relational language in that. So this is a stickler for me that I always look for that in conversation. I look for that if I'm on a computer, I have to watch. I do things. I watch the traffic. I see how people are driving. It's always constant to me, because that is based on taking from Earth all the time. We can say all peoples did it, but then you're not taking responsibility.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot. I mean, that we could talk all day. You come visit me. We'll be sitting here. We'll be talking for weeks.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you'll see that I'm not trying to convince you.
Right.
That's the beauty.
Beautiful.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty.
What a gift. Thank you, Tiokasin, for your generosity and for everything you've shared. Common sense, wisdom, whatever we call it. My heart feels full and I'm stretched and I feel enriched and re-enchanted. There's something you reminded us.
That's right.
That we embedded in mystery. You know, it's
Yeah, and you do it with such lightness, with a smile behind your word that always makes me hear it even more, because I don't feel you are preaching.
And I love my
Yeah.
mind. Like,
It's
I got it.
Yeah, and then it's so childlike the way I can receive your word. You bring me in a state of childness to be
Yeah.
able to absorb you. So it's so good.
Yeah, thank you. One final thought is that, oh, good, is that Mother Earth wants her land back because she knows how to treat herself. We don't know how to treat Earth. I'll leave it at that. And thank you so much for the invite. And let me have conversation. And
Maybe continue.
whatever I said, I don't know, maybe it's not comprehensible to a lot of people, but a few of you maybe. That's good enough. Thank you.
That's the whole point, not to think we got it, to
Yeah,
fixate
that's
it,
right.
let it
Right.
live in us.
Yeah.
And I just want to share, people were asking which movie. The Eternal Song is a film that we have shared last year, and Tiokasin is featured in the film. And also, there is a beautiful book that I just love personally, deeply, and it's called Butterfly Against the Wind, and is Tiokasin and Jidina's beautiful artwork. So if you would like, we can put the link in the chat for the book. And there is a new book coming up this year or next year? Next year, right? Yeah.
And we will
Mind,
keep you.
and we will keep you
we'll keep you
posted
posted
when the
on
new
that.
book.
And maybe we have another event like this to
Yes.
present the book. So
Yes, we will.